Georgetown family is needing your help in completing their son's life goal.
12-year-old Russ Bourget was killed in a UTV crash in Boyle County over the weekend. When they later went through his room, his parents found a list of dreams they never realized Russ had. As WKYT's Grayson Passmore shows us, they are hoping to accomplish one of them in his memory. It's a story new at 11.
In many ways, 12-year-old Russ Bourget was just like any other boy his age.
But Russ loved to write, he loved to read, close with his brothers and sisters, big Kentucky basketball fan, big Bengals fan, played soccer here in the leagues.
Andrew Brown has known the Bourget family for 25 years now. He saw Russ flourish in student ministry at his church, Grace Christian, and he's been grieving along with the rest of their community since learning Russ died in a UTV accident on Saturday.
Russ is one of those kids that when you met him, you didn't forget him. He always had something funny or witty to say. He thought about things deeply.
Maybe more deeply than anyone ever really knew.
So on Saturday after Russ had passed away, his family was going through his room, and on the back of his door they found a list that just said Russ's life goals. And some of them were funny and then some of them were really important to him.
Along with learning to play guitar and becoming a soccer player, Russ wrote that he wanted to raise $5,000 to help those in need through the Amen House.
Even 2 summers ago, he worked all summer and saved up $100 doing tasks for neighbors and doing lemonade stands, and he took the whole $100 and gave it to the Amen House.
Now his parents, Levi and Tiffany, are working to accomplish Russ's goal. In lieu of flowers, they're asking for donations to be made in his name.
From the first moment I heard about it, I know in my heart I said we're going to make this happen.
For the little boy with big dreams. In Georgetown, Grayson Passmore, WKYT.
And a visitation will be held tomorrow night at Grace Christian Church in Georgetown, and funeral services will follow on Friday.